What's up, everybody? Welcome to Make Things Tiny. My name is Mick. So, if you're sitting here today and you're thinking, I'm ready to go tiny or I'm ready to go small, but I don't want to lose the community feel that I've got in my current neighborhood. I don't want to lose the quality and the design and the sort of like luxury feel I've got going on in the interior of my home. Well, this is the perfect video for you because today we're talking about pocket neighborhoods. We're going to hear from Nikki of Posh Pockets Northwest. Nikki's going to talk to us about their community and what they offer and how you can go small without sacrificing quality and the design and the build of your home, and of course the community that you feel when you step outside of it. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and let's get into it. Let's learn about Posh Pockets Northwest. Nikki, thank you so much for being on the channel. I'm excited for people to learn from you and hear about everything that you're doing. If you don't mind just talking a little bit about what got you into smaller homes and pocket neighborhoods.
Yeah, of course. So we've been in the real estate industry for about 20 years, residential real estate, and just listening to our clients kind of say and explain what their perfect house and perfect lifestyle would be. We just would listen and listen and listen to that. And then finally, we said, okay, we've been looking at different neighborhoods like that in other parts of the country. Let's do that here, which is downsized living, but not giving up quality, not giving up the things that are important to people in their bigger homes. So we have luxury and living in a downsized version.
Okay, that makes sense. I feel like it's on a trend that we're on right now. Like younger generations, millennials for sure. Gen Z seems to be really interested in trailers and like van life and things like that. And then even like Gen X just sort of like wanting to downsize, and like older generations just retire from like the 3,000 square foot home into something smaller. So I think that's really cool that you were able to listen to the feedback from your clients being in the industry for so many years and sort of like translate that into what you have now. So that's sort of like the biggest inspiration for Posh Pockets. Is that what you would say?
Say so. So over time, we've seen other neighborhoods like this happening in other places, and knowing that somebody wants to downsize into something, but they want that lock and go condo lifestyle, but they don't want a condo. They still want a home and they still want community and they want neighborhood, but they didn't want to give up certain things. So downsizing to everybody we felt was different, but majority was we want to get rid of the big house, but we don't want to get rid of quality and we don't want to get rid of some of those things, the upper end finishes and stuff like
that. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. So, I mean, I think it's really cool that you're saying it like that. Like downsizing looks different for everyone. And I think that that is definitely the case. Like some people, downsizing might honestly be going from 3,000 to 1,500 square feet. Like that's half. So like that could be a huge adjustment for someone. So what's lock and go? I've heard this before, and I've never asked anyone what it was. I think I have a general idea, but do you mind just for people watching, like just explaining what that means?
So to us, lock and go is like we can lock our house and we can go adventure. We can go travel. We can be snowbirds. We can do all the things that we want to do, and we can ditch the honey-do list and think about just living. When we're home, we don't have to think about projects and chores. If we can enjoy the house, we can enjoy the community, and then we can go. We can move on to the next thing. We have people that are like where they're into biking and they're into hiking and they're into all the things. So they're like, we don't want to spend all the time dealing with the house. We want to just go.
Okay. That's actually, I'm so glad I asked you because I don't know if I fully understood it. I think I thought maybe like you lock your house and then someone else makes it so that you like don't have to worry about it when you leave. So I really like that idea of like you can go and do your adventure and not have to worry that like when you come back there's going to be a million things for you to do.
We designed the houses to be very low maintenance. So all of the materials, all of the grounds, everything is low maintenance. So the only thing you really have to do is enjoy.
That's cool. That's perfect. It sounds really exciting. So, so if someone's like, checking out your website for Posh Pockets, or they ask you sort of like, what do you do? Like in a nutshell, like what are some of like the main things that you offer for people that are interested in either joining the community or like utilizing the services that you have to offer?
So I would say that we've designed a boutique neighborhood here where we've thought about almost like resort style living. We want people to feel like when they come home, they're walking into their vacation resort, basically. And the homes are designed for that, but also the grounds. So we have like community fire pits. We have a raised garden beds that are community based. So everything is real easy, but also fun. So it's like you're walking around and you're visiting and enjoying your neighborhood and your neighbors and the community. And it's very boutiquey. It's small, it's quaint, everybody gets to know each other. It's designed for a community lifestyle where people feel like they can leave and their homes are still being looked out for. They're, it's just very friendly.
So, like, kind of like trying to bring some of the community like elements back into what we understood, as like a traditional suburb. Because it used to be the case that like when you lived in a subdivision, like when I was growing up in the '90s. Like everyone knew their neighbor. You could ride bikes with people. Like there were so many things you didn't have to think about on the community side of like living your life. And now like we don't talk to our neighbors. You can go weeks without seeing the people that live nearby. Like if someone would say, "Oh, when's the last time you saw the person that lives two houses down from you?" You might be like, "I honestly couldn't tell you. I didn't even know anyone lived, two doors down." So I think that's a really cool thing that you're trying to sort of put the community piece back into it.
People drive into the garage, they close the door, they go into the house, and
For sure.
and they're done. And in this community, the carports and parking is away from the home. So once you get into the home, the front doors are inviting. Everybody's front door faces each other with a community piece in the middle. So it's designed to get to know people and live in a place where it feels safe and inviting all the time.
Okay, that makes sense. I was like, that's a good segue because I was going to actually ask you about the design elements. So, like, what were some of the main things you wanted to keep in mind? Like, are there different types of homes that people can choose from, or is it like one standard model? What does that sort of look like?
Sure. So we have a Northwest contemporary design here. So it's very resort style. We have 3 different floor plans, and then there's a few versions within those floor plans. So they can be semi-custom, but they're also, the main floor footprint is the same in all of them. And then the other part can be semi-custom. So it's very Northwest contemporary. We have, the resort style living with the metal roofs and cedar siding. So everything is designed to be very, very low maintenance,
Mm-hmm.
but also pretty.
That makes sense. Is there like a standard like floor plan sort of like range in terms of the square footage, or is it
Yep.
whatever the person's interested in? Can they expand it? That sort of thing.
So because we are in a certain code here,
Mhm.
we have a basic footprint. So we can range from 850 square feet to a max of 1660.
Okay.
So we're not tiny homes by any means, but we are smaller footprint.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And I think one of the reasons why sort of like what attracted me to what y'all are doing is kind of that you're in that smaller living space. And I think everyone has a different idea of what it looks like to downsize, like you're saying, and to live smaller. So for some people, like a traditional 300 square foot or 200 square foot tiny home might just be like too much of a jump for them. But maybe they would be
Right.
interested in moving to something that 850 feels manageable to them. It's still smaller. It's definitely an adjustment, but it's not quite as big a jump as, say, going to like 400 square feet, especially if they have a family or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's correct. I think the biggest thing that people ponder when they're starting to downsize is how am I going to get rid of stuff?
Yep.
So I think it's a mindset. And once they figure out and feel that mindset, it's like, okay, 850 square feet is not really small.
Mhm. No, that makes sense. Would
And
you
it's
say would you say that this is a good so the tiny house industry is kind of like split into a lot of different ways, but the main split is people that want to live in tiny homes and people that want to invest in them and turn them into Airbnbs. Would you say that like a pocket neighborhood is a good opportunity for an investor to create sort of like the short-term rental, or is it more designed for long-term living?
Ours is more designed for long-term living. I
Okay.
feel that majority of the people that want to live here don't want to feel like there's going to be people coming and going. This is their
Mhm.
home and it's their community. So we have the opportunity to rent as an investor might want, but it would be long-term rentals, not short-term.
Okay.
And that was mostly by listening to the people who were coming in and wanting to purchase homes. They did not get excited about that coming and going.
Okay.
Piece of
Well,
it.
it's good that you listened to them again and like got that feedback, so that's good.
Yeah, it was interesting because the Airbnb thing is so popular right now, and it's separate. This is people will be snowbirds here. We do feel like there will be some snowbirds and that kind of thing, but it wouldn't be a short-term rental
Mhm.
situation.
Okay, that makes sense. And so with the pocket neighborhood, so for people that don't really, I've heard the phrase pocket neighborhood maybe like once before I came across your website. What's the easiest way, I guess, to help people understand what a pocket neighborhood is, and like, is there like a maximum for the amount of homes that you can have in a pocket neighborhood?
So we designed it as a boutique neighborhood because
Okay.
we've taken an infill property that wasn't maybe the right property for larger builders because you couldn't fit enough homes on it, but you can utilize the density here. And so we could create more homes in a smaller footprint of land, but still create an actual community. So it's a very boutique lifestyle, but it also serves a purpose of using property that doesn't make sense for larger builders.
Hmm. Okay. And so how many homes can you fit in, like, on the property overall?
So our development will have 24 homes and it's
Okay.
2.3 acres.
Oh, okay. Okay. Cool. So they have enough space, like they're not like sort of like crammed together. Like there's plenty of space, between the homes.
There's plenty of space and there's beautiful walk paths and community areas for barbecues and fire pits and community garden. And then we do have a community room as well with a full kitchen and space where people can gather. And if your home is a little bit of a smaller footprint, then there's places to gather outside of your home.
That's true. Yeah, that's definitely the case, and we're definitely seeing more and more people interested in sort of like those community spaces, even within like the tiny house industry with tiny house communities. Like they want gardens, they want space for chickens, they want clubhouses and pools, like places where they can come together and meet their neighbors. So it's good to see people wanting to sort of go back to that place we were in, 15 or 20 years ago. Now it's been a while where people really do want to connect with their neighbors.
Yeah, I think so. I really do think so. And I think that community is what people are seeking because it's not as available as it used to be.
Definitely not. Definitely not. So for someone who's watching right now and they're like, okay, I'm interested, I definitely want to be a part of what you're doing. What does that process look like for them to be a part of the community? And what's the general cost for them to join?
So our community is the first of its kind in Clark County. There's not
Mhm.
another community that's exactly like ours. So first off, I would hope anyone would come and tour because the homes are beautiful, they're amazing, they're spectacular. Our price points range from 550 to 715, and that is an 840 square foot to 1660 is our largest. And what we always tell people when somebody doesn't quite understand the concept of that
Mhm.
smaller scale is that it's downsizing without giving up quality. And this is a lifestyle neighborhood. It's all about lifestyle here.
Mhm. That makes sense. No, and I think that's great. That I definitely like. I always suggest that people go and tour anything that they want to potentially buy or move into, because you really don't know what the square footage is like unless you go and like walk through it. And I think a lot of people will be surprised that, like, 850 square feet sounds like it's not a lot, but if it's designed well, like just like 400 square foot tiny home, the design is everything. So if it's designed properly, for functionality and things like that, like I think a lot of people would be surprised by what you can do, with 400 to 800 square feet.
Absolutely. And all the extra storage and just hidden space is amazing.
Hmm. Yeah, cool. Well, okay, so you've been doing this for a little bit now. What would
Mhm.
you say is the biggest challenge you've faced in sort of developing a community like this, especially being the only one of its kind really in your county, and sort of part of a growing trend of creating smaller footprints but still keeping community?
Say some of the biggest challenge is getting people to understand the concept of the neighborhood. It's not a standard neighborhood. We have beautiful, wonderful renderings, it created a lot of excitement. But to actually see the quality and the design and the feel, it took a long time. You had to actually build it so people could come and see.
That makes sense. And when did this first start? Like, when did you first start, I guess, like, developing the idea and like sort of like breaking ground? How long did that process take to where you're at right now?
It's been a while. So the actual concept and design, we've been following this type of feel for probably 10 years.
Okay.
And then we purchased a property in 2020 and then started going through the actual design process. So all of that, obviously with the holdups of 2020 and so on, took a long time. We've been in the actual construction and permit and build phase for 2 years now. So
Okay.
it took a little longer than a standard neighborhood, but without it being here before, and it's our first time doing it and creating something that isn't the norm, it took a little longer, but it was well worth it.
Mhm.
Absolutely well worth it.
Oh yeah, for sure. I can tell it because it looks great. So yeah, no, it's awesome that you were able to do so much, honestly, in such a small period of time. So yeah, I think that's great. So
So
so for yeah. So for anyone that's watching, they're thinking, okay, I want to do this, but they're sitting in their 3,000 square foot home right now, and it's still kind of a daunting task to think about downsizing, even though the renderings are great and everything that you're saying is fantastic. What would you say are the sort of like the main things they need to keep in mind as they consider downsizing and living in a smaller space?
starts with mindset because the thing that people are attached to is the stuff. Even though the stuff is stored in boxes or they don't use the rooms or they don't actually look at it, it's just the daunting task of getting rid of it. And am I going to miss it? And all of that. And then once you get in that actual mindset of like you're ready, I feel like people are like, okay, it's go time. And they're like, how do I do this? And whether they can just part with the stuff or need some help, there's people out there as well that will kind of separate the stuff and help you with that anxiety of getting rid of it. But I think once they get past the mindset, they're like, okay, I'm ready and I'm going. And they just move. And it's been really interesting to see that because at first they come in for the first appointment and they're like, I'm ready, but I have so much stuff. How long is that going to take? And then all of a sudden they come back and they're like, okay, the stuff's gone. And I think it's really truly mindset.
Okay, that makes sense.
We obviously have lots of people that can help, when they are like, I just can't look at it and do it. But once people seem ready, they seem ready.
Mhm. No, I think that makes sense. I mean, because it is a huge change. We are used to living a certain way, and we are definitely used to accumulating a lot of things. Like, I feel like we accumulate things just without even realizing it. You look at your place like 2 years later, and you're like, where did all of this stuff come from? So I think that's really good advice to focus on the mindset shift because you all have done sort of like the hard part for them in terms of where they're going to be and what the design will look like and all those sorts of things that you've done and all the planning and development that you've done over the past few years. So I think that's great advice to start with the mindset.
It's emotional. I think a lot of people come in and they still have boxes of their kids' stuff and stuff like
Mhm.
that. And they're like, I don't want this stuff, but I need to tell them to come get it. So I think it's definitely emotional. And then once they get past that, they're very happy.
No, that makes sense. I could see that too. Yeah. It's awesome. Well, thank you, Nikki. I appreciate it. Like, I appreciate you taking time to chat with us. I think it's really cool what y'all are doing. I do see this as like, as you're saying, and other people have mentioned before, like it's definitely a shift and a trend. People are starting to realize they don't need as much stuff. And I think sort of where y'all sit is kind of potentially in the space in between, completely downsizing into something that's 200 square feet and going like into a tiny house on wheels, but not staying in the 3,000 square foot home that you're in. So I think what you're offering is something in the middle, which I think that we need because not everyone that thinks they want to go tiny actually does. Once they go and check out a tiny house, they're like, there's no way I can do it. 400 square feet is too small. And now they're kind of like, well, what do I do now? So I think you're answering that question. Like, what do you do if you don't want to go all the way to 300 square feet, but you don't want to stay in your 3,000 square foot home?
Thank you. We appreciate that because we feel that that is definitely the gap that we're filling here.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm excited to see what y'all continue to do, and links to everything that you're doing will be in the video description, so people can reach out and ask questions, and just start to again like get the gears rolling when it comes to just thinking about what going small can look like for them. So I appreciate you just taking the time to walk us through that process.
Well, thank you. And I appreciate you actually reaching out and finding us. I mean, we're not in the same location, so that was
No,
really
yeah, it's been great. Thank you so much, Nikki.
thanks.
All right.
All right, that was my conversation with Nikki. I appreciate Nikki taking the time to just walk us through what it means to sort of downsize into a pocket neighborhood, how they focused on just creating luxurious features for their community, all the different community elements that they have to offer as well too. So this is an awesome opportunity for those of you who are kind of looking for something in between, completely going like full plunge and moving into like a 200 square foot tiny home and staying in the larger homes that you're currently in. So make sure you reach out. Thank you again, Nikki, for taking the time to chat with us. You can find links to everything that they're doing, social media, website. Make sure you reach out and ask questions. You never know, this might be a really great fit for some of you. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. If you are interested in learning more just about different types of tiny house communities or ways to go tiny, make sure you check out these videos I've got here of other tiny house communities as well too. Thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to think tiny. I'll see you guys in the next one.